Hi there. I was talking to Mike Ketchell on YouTube the other night about the Sangean ATS-803A. He was asking me about the SSB performance, the BFO pitch, and whilst we were having that conversation, it dawned on me that although I've done the odd one-off test comparing the Sangean to the Sony ICF 2001D, it might be interesting to do a series of comparisons, because at the time that the Sony was introduced, I think in 1984, it cost £366, which was out of reach for a lot of people, including myself. I was a teenager at the time, and my first digital shortwave radio was the ATS-803A. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was about £100, so it was less than a third of the price, and it is known to be one of the best kind of budget shortwave portables probably ever made. Then I remembered that the last time I actually tried to use it, it wasn't working. It just wouldn't power up, and I don't know if any of you remember, but this radio kind of spent about 2 decades in my garden shed, and as you can see, I had to take it apart again. There's quite a lot of corrosion in the radio itself, but particularly in the battery case. In fact, when I first tried to use this radio after that many years, the battery terminals had literally corroded to nothing. Now at the time, being a man in a hurry as I am, what I actually did was I basically soldered 2 fly leads to the power board like so, and then literally fed them into the battery compartment through one of those holes, and then effectively sellotaped the fly leads to the batteries and got it working. And as some of you will also know, I've taken this radio out into the field for de-expeditions quite a few times. So when I realised this time that the radio wasn't working, I took it apart and thought to myself, well, what I need to do is try and do a better job and fix it properly. What I also did actually was I took the back off it, disconnected the antenna, and I powered just to make sure the radio itself was actually working, that there wasn't a fault on one of the boards. I connected it to one of my power supplies, and there's radio 4, and what you can hear is the TV. So I'll just switch that off. There you go. So it does work. So the reason it wasn't working this time is because there's no power. So what I did this time, which I didn't manage to do last time, was on the inside of the rear cover, I managed to remove this part. It's basically half of the battery case, so I was able to actually reach the 2 terminals. The far end, couldn't really get to them before doing this. Did my best to clean them up, put it all back together, and it still wouldn't work. And what it actually was if you can see, this radio takes basically 6 D cells to power the radio itself, and then 2 AA's for the memory, but they're all wired in together. This terminal here, this contact, which I previously cleaned, had sort of become corroded again, and so it was basically open circuit. So I've cleaned it again, and what I've actually done, last time I used like tin foil, so I've used some aluminium strip. That's actually very pure aluminium. It's not ideal because it will oxidize, but it'll do for now. So what I'm going to do is put the batteries back in it, put it all back together, at least this part of it, and then measure the voltages and see what we've got. So I've got some batteries that are, they're not new, but they're good enough. So I'll reassemble the back of the case insert the batteries, and then measure the voltages. Now, as I said previously, I used two fly leads from the power board, but the way that it's designed is that these three terminals here, they make physical contact with the power board on the actual radio itself. I'll just turn it around again. So they make contact with these parts of the board here, if you can see. So if it's all working correctly, when I screw it all back together, it should be working. So, but I'll do another video when I've got the back case reassembled with the batteries in it, and I'll check the voltages. In the meantime, thanks for watching.